solvade. Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sane Karma Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum. Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sane Karma Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Siddhi Hum Hum. Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sane Karma Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum. Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sane Karma Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum. Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum. Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sane Karma Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum. Dagi Jitsun Lama Tuje Che Nyamda Dala Tuje Sikso So Gebe Shesan Dala Tendo So Uyon Sunge Nawa Tsedo So Tseji Ningne Solwa Debe Tse Dechen Korlo Visu Lekshu Ne Yila Sambe Deden Malupa Gemel Hunge Drupra Chingelo Soni Sogdan Diktun Shape Tse Dunge Namke Yinsu Lekshu Ne Lapchen Sonye Yonso Tsopa Dan Chera Nyetun Chanra Chingelo Chancho Parge Ninsen Tukun Tu Peme Siudru Lekshune Chancho Drube Gegen Kunshi Shi Tungen De La Drubra Chingelo Dagi Lona Chola Chokpa Dan Chomin Samjur Ngemba Shiwa Dan Chodan Tumbe Dede Malupa Beme Lunge Drubra Chingelo Dorna Tingne Tsera Tamche Dan Teche Pardo Nek Rese Kyamne Lama Kele Me Tukche Chingi Dala Sikso So Gongyab Drewe Nyamda Dachala Jetsula Me Tuche Rab Gongne Kodan Sunge Nawa Dral Me Tu Nyamsu Nyongwe Kesan Tobrasho Kewa Kunto Yanda Lama Dan Drame Chuki Pela Longche Chin Sadan Lamge Yuen Rabzone Dorje Change Kopa Nyur Tobe Shoya Pakyu Ke Kudan Dagi Olu Pakyu Ke Sundan Dagi Nga Pakyu Ke Tukdan Dagi Yin Yerme Chikto Chingi Alo Ma Kyuke Kudan Dagi Alo Sundan Dagi Nga Ma Kyuke Tukdan Dagi Yin Yerme Chikto Chingi Alo Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakya Muni Soha Om Muni Hamuni Shakya tayata gate gate ragate parasamgate bodhi soha tayata gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhi soha tayata gate gate paragate samgate bodhi soha sangye chedan tsoge chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapsu dagi jinso gibe sonam ki drola pinchira sangye drupar sho sangye chedan tsoge chonam la dani kyapsu chi dagi jinso gibe sonam ki drola pinchira sangye drupar sho sangye chedan tsoge chonam dagi jinso gibe sonam ki drola pinchira sangye drupar sho. Nel Buddha, nel Dharma e nella Sangha prendo rifugio fino all'illuminazione. Con la pratica della generosità e delle altre perfezioni possa io ottenere lo stato di Buddha per il beneficio di tutti gli esseri senzienti. Ci mettiamo in una posizione confortevole.
Sit in a comfortable position with a back straight but not tense.
Le spalle rilassate.
Our shoulders are relaxed.
La testa leggermente.
Our head is slightly forward.
Con la bocca
Our
rilassata.
mouth is relaxed. Our tongue is resting on the palate.
Gli occhi leggermente.
Eyes are slightly closed, looking downwards.
La consapevolezza
Our awareness is on our breath.
Osserviamo i movimenti del corpo
We
mentre
observe the movements of our body as we breathe.
l'addome,
Our abdomen, our chest.
Osserviamo la
We
sensazione
observe the sensation at our nostrils of the air going in and of the air going out.
con gentilezza.
With gentleness,
Portiamo il nostro respiro
we
ad
bring
un
our breath to an abdominal breath.
Inspiriamo
We
profondamente
breathe in deeply
fino a gonfiare leggermente la
until
pancia.
swelling our belly slightly.
Espiriamo
And breathe
profondamente
out deeply until
leggermente la
contracting our abdomen slightly.
Proseguiamo con la respirazione
We
yogica.
follow with the yogic breathing. That is, as we breathe in,
Dopo aver riempito la parte
after having filled the lower part of our abdomen, we continue in a
fino a
continuous
riempire
flow until we fill also the upper part of our chest,
fino a un lieve,
up
quasi
to
impercettibile.
a slight, almost imperceptible lifting of the shoulders.
Ad espirare,
And as we breathe out, we empty first the upper part of our chest, and then lastly, we also empty the lower part of our abdomen until it contracts slightly. So I breathe in, feeling from bottom to top, and
espira.
breathe out, emptying from top to bottom.
Respiriamo con calma,
We breathe slowly,
creando uno spazio dopo
creating
inspirare,
a space after the in-breath and after the
senza
out-breath.
forzare,
Without
facciamo una
forcing,
pausa in cui tratteniamo
we
l'aria.
take a break where we hold the air.
Inspiro,
So I breathe in, hold, and
espiro
breathe out,
e trattengo,
hold,
senza forzare.
without forcing.
inspiriamo,
We breathe in,
contando fino a 4,
counting to 4,
tratteniamo
hold
4,
with 4, breathe out with 4,
e
and
tratteniamo.
hold with 2.
Quindi
So
inspiro
breathe in
4,
4,
trattengo
hold
4,
4,
espiro 4,
breathe out 4,
trattengo 2,
hold 2,
inspiro 4.
breathe in 4.
Inspiro 4,
Breathe in 4,
trattengo 6,
hold 6,
espiro 6
breathe out
e
6,
trattengo
and
3.
hold 3.
Inspiro.
Breathe in. Breathe
4,
in 4,
trattengo
hold
8,
8, breathe out 8, and hold 4.
se non fosse
That was
confortevole,
not
se
comfortable, if that was too long,
ognuno
then each
mantiene
one maintains
la durata che è
a
confortabile.
duration that is comfortable for oneself.
Idealmente,
Ideally,
inspiro
I
4,
breathe in with
trattengo
4, hold with 8, breathe out 8, and hold 4 without forcing.
inspiro.
Breathe in.
Ad inspirare,
As we breathe in,
inspiriamo luce, nettare,
we breathe in
portando
light and nectar, bringing us the blessings of every sacred being that enters through our nostrils, the side channels, goes down below the navel, and enters the central channel.
al trattenere,
As we hold,
raggi di luce
rays of
riempiono
light fill the central channel and are absorbed at our heart,
portandoci le benedizioni,
bringing us the blessings and bringing us to a state of peace. And as we breathe out,
dal nostro cuore si
from our heart,
emanano i raggi di luce,
the rays of light emanate
fanno gli esseri
that
che
go
ci circondano,
towards the beings surrounding us,
portando gradualmente loro,
bringing them gradually to a state of peace.
tratteniamo dopo aver inspirato e rigioiamo
After the out-breath, we hold and we rejoice for the well-being of the others, and then we breathe in deeply again, and the rays of light come back and enter through our side channels, and then we hold, they absorb at our heart, and we breathe out and they emanate.
Inspiro i raggi di luce
So
nettere con
breathe
il
in
suono.
the rays of light with the sound, with the inner sound of Om. Then hold the air and absorb the rays of light at the heart with the inner sound of A. And breathe out, emanating light and nectar to the beings with the inner sound of Hum. So breathe in Om.
Trattengo A.
Hold A.
Espiro Hum.
Breathe out Hum.
Inspiro Om.
Breathe in Om.
Gli esseri intorno a noi si trovano in uno
The
stato.
beings around us are in a state of peace.
Ispiriamo luce
And we
che
breathe in
riempie,
light that fills our body and is absorbed at our heart,
generando uno stato interno.
generating an inner state of peace and of infinite inner space.
Riposiamo la nostra
And we
mente.
rest our mind in this infinite inner space. So breathe in,
Trattengo,
hold,
espiro
breathe
e
out,
trattengo.
hold.
Manteniamo il contatto con l'infinito spazio interiore.
We keep the contact with the infinite inner space, and we maintain the awareness on our breath.
Piano piano riportiamo la nostra
Bit by
attenzione.
bit, slowly we bring back our attention to the outer senses.
Gli occhi,
We move our mouth, our hands, we open our eyes.
dan le dan ne chin ke rubunda da mi ke nam dan ruwa kun ke nam che tsam pa tam che ke to da ge che ten to. Buongiorno.
Morning.
Certe volte,
Sometimes
quando andiamo a
when we
leggere dei testi,
read some
commentare,
text and we comment them,
esiste un po' questa
there is
sensazione
this feeling of
concludere tutto.
wanting to conclude the whole text.
Io all'inizio ce l'avevo
And me,
abbastanza.
at the beginning, I quite had it. So when a certain explanation was starting, so there was the need to complete
Piano
it.
piano ho cominciato un po' a molare,
But then, bit by bit, I started to
perché
give that up,
il nostro obiettivo
because
non è
our
quello
goal
di
is
dover
not that of
completare il commentario,
having to
per
complete
mettere
the commentary
cose fatte,
and
ricevuto il commentario di questo
to
fatto.
mark the thing as completed,
Il nostro obiettivo
as
è
received.
di poter
Our goal is to be able to reflect,
comprendere,
to comprehend, to assimilate,
per piano piano
to then
trasformare il nostro
be able to transform our being.
Quello che accade è che
And what happens is that
ognuno
everyone
in questi giorni ha ovviamente
during these days
un'esperienza diversa.
has, of course, had a different experience. So the same things resonate inside of each one of us in a different way.
E le stesse cose
And the same things in different moments also mean different things.
perché comunque
Because
risuonano
anyway,
dentro di
they
noi.
resonate inside of ourselves in a different way.
Per me l'obiettivo
And so
di
for
questi
this,
giorni
the
non è
goal
tanto quello di dover
these
studiare
days
il testo,
was
concluderlo,
not to
eccetera,
conclude the text and comment it all,
per ognuno di noi
but
di
to
fare un
allow
processo
each one of
di
us to go
riflessione,
through a process of reflection, of
direzione, di
understanding,
direzione
of
della nostra mente, delle nostre
directioning
scelte.
of our mind, of our choices.
E io credo che sia più
And I believe
importante
that
per noi
it's
la
more important for
profondità
us the
che la
depth
velocità.
rather than the speed.
Non c'è bisogno di per
There is
forza
no
dover
need
leggere
to
tutto,
have to read everything,
perché guardando siamo
because
nel
if we
verso
check, we are at
6
the verse 6
di
of
23.
23.
Sto seguendo la divisione un po' diversa, in realtà la
Following actually
divisione
a
che abbiamo
different
sul
division, the
libro
division that we have
non è
on the
esattamente la
book
più
is not
corretta.
exactly the most correct one of the
Però
verses. The verses are
la
correct,
divisione dei versi
but the division of the
in realtà
verses
sarebbe
actually
leggermente diversa.
should
Poi
be like
lo
slightly
riprendo
different.
per la prossima edizione, lo
Then
faccio
okay, for
correggere.
the next edition we will correct
Perché
it,
è diviso, il testo è
because
diviso in 23 parti.
the text is divided
Ci
in
sono i
23 parts.
23
There are the
incontri
23
che
encounters
Atisha ha avuto contro
that
me.
Atisha had with Drom
Questo
Tompa.
testo è il
So
riassunto di
this
questi
text is the
23 momenti
uh,
in cui Drom Tom
summary of these 23 meetings
incontra con suo
where
maestro
Drom Tompa
Atisha,
meets his
Atisha
master
gli
Atisha.
dà delle
Atisha
spiegazioni,
gives
però
him
incontro
some
molto informale,
explanation, but very
domande e
informal
risposte.
meetings like
E alla
questions and
fine
answers.
dell'incontro
And then
Drom
at the
Tompa
end of
dice:
every
quindi
meeting, then
maestro, come ti
Drom Tompa
sembra se
says,
riassumiamo
then
questo
master,
con queste
how
parole?
does it
E
seem to you
Atisha
if we sum
eccellente.
this up with these words? And then Atisha
Benissimo.
said, excellent,
E
it's good like
questi
that.
vari
And these various
consigli, questi vari
this advice, these summaries put together is called the garland, the jewel garland of the Bodhisattva. It's a jewel garland because it's different moments, different jewels put together.
Di quello che abbiamo visto fin da adesso,
What we have seen up to today, we start
il primo incontro è
that the first encounter is homage to the spiritual guides. Homage to the great compassion in the original text of the commentary. Actually, I haven't seen it, but then in the text, once it was put all together, then it was added. But when we look at the conversation that were there as a summaries, then it starts with homage to spiritual guides, which is the first encounter. Then there is homage to the deities who inspire devotion. The third encounter is put aside all doubt and hesitation and take delight in earnest practice. Fourth encounter, abandon entirely lethargy, dullness and laziness and exert yourself constantly with enthusiasm. Fifth, with mindful recollection, vigilance and conscientiousness, guard the doors of your senses at all times. Again and again, thrice by day and by night, examine the continuum of your mind. Sixth encounter, and this is longer, proclaim your own failings, but do not look for faults in others. Hide any good qualities you may have while declaring others' virtues. Let go of concerns for gain or respect, and always renounce the desire for fame. With few wants, remain contented, and repay any kindness you receive. Cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and make your bodhicitta stable. Seventh encounter, avoid the 10 unwholesome actions, and let your faith be forever strong. Overcome all anger and conceit, and adopt an attitude of humility. Renounce unethical forms of livelihood, and sustain yourself according to the Dharma. Eighth encounter, forsake material possessions and adorn yourself with the riches of the Aryas, and so on.
Leggiamo tutto una volta.
So let's read it all once. Ninth meeting, leave behind all busyness and distraction and remain in places of solitude. Remain from idle gossip, also little text messages and so on, and always guard your speech or write. Whenever you see your masters or preceptors, cultivate the wish to serve them with respect. Sorry, this was the 10th. When you see your masters or preceptors, this is the 10th encounter. Both those possessing eyes of Dharma and those first setting out upon the path are to be regarded as your teachers. And when encountering any other being, look upon them as your parents or your children. 11th encounter, do not befriend those who act in harmful ways, but rely instead on true spiritual friends. Abandon any feeling of hostility or ill will, and be always joyful, wherever you may go. 12th, avoid becoming attached to anything at all, and remain free from craving and desire. Attachment prevents the attainment of happy states, and furthermore destroys liberation's vital force. 13 encounter, should you discover a means to happiness, strive constantly to put it into practice. Any task you have set out to do should be completed before embarking on another. With this approach, both will be achieved, but doing otherwise, nothing will be accomplished. 14 encounter, take no delight in harmful deeds. Should the thoughts of superiority arise, there and then subdue your pride and recall the instructions of your master. Should you ever feel daunted or dejected, uplift yourself with encouragement and praise. Then the next verse, according to me, is part of the 15th encounter, but in the text it seems that it's in the 14th, but according to me it's in the next. That starts by saying, meditate on the emptiness of both. When encountering objects of attachment or aversion, regard them as mere apparitions and illusory. Should you hear unpleasant words, consider them merely echoes. Should you suffer physical harm, consider it the fruit of your past deeds. 16th encounter, keep entirely to solitude, far beyond the town, and like the carcass of a beast, hide yourself away, remaining free of all attachment. 17th encounter, be forever firm in your commitment. Should laziness or lethargy take hold, be sure to enumerate your faults and recall the essence of yogic discipline. 18th, should you chance upon another, speak calmly and sincerely, taking care not to frown or grimace, and always maintaining a cheerful smile. Generally, whenever you encounter others, do not be miserly, but delight in giving, and forsake entirely feelings of envy. To protect the minds of others, be sure to avoid all quarrels, and always remain patient and forbearing. 19th encounter, do not flatter others or be fickle and disloyal, but remain forever steadfast and reliable. Avoid disparaging people in any way, and treat everyone with respect. When giving advice or instructions, do so with compassion and goodwill. 20th, be sure never to denigrate the teachings. Set your sights on what inspires you the most, and through the 10 forms of Dharma practice, exert yourself in sessions by day and by night. 21st, whatever virtues you amass in the past, present and future, dedicate them all towards great and unsurpassable awakening. Divide your merits among all sentient beings. Continually make prayers of aspiration, combining them with the 7 branches. Practicing in this way, you will complete the twofold accumulations of merit and wisdom, and eliminate the 2 forms of obscuration. By making meaningful this human existence, in time you will gain unsurpassable awakening. 22nd encounter, the jewel of faith, the jewel of discipline, the jewel of giving, the jewel of learning, the jewel of dignity, the jewel of self-control, and the jewel of wisdom. These are the 7 riches. These are these most sacred forms of wealth. Are 7 riches that cannot be exhausted. Do not speak of these to non-human beings. 23rd, in the company of others, guard your speech. Whenever you are alone, guard your mind.
Questa conclusione,
this ending, then I translated slightly different now.
Quando in compagnia fai
In
attenzione,
the company of others, guard your speech. Whenever you are alone, guard your mind.
Qua è stato tradotto, quando sei solo vigila sulla tua mente, che sarebbe più corretto
Or
fai attenzione.
it would be more precise to say, be careful about what you
Uno dei
think.
principali maestri di
It is said that one of the main masters of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, which was called Kyabche Rinpoche, one of his main gurus,
quando stava per morire verso la
when he was about to die, towards the end of his life, the Dalai Lama went to greet him, and I heard this, that the last words of advice that Ling Rinpoche gave was exactly this verse. He said, in the company of others, be careful about what you say, and when you're alone, be careful about what you think. This is to say that it's some advice that was also given by among some of the most important masters. This is not just for beginners, so to speak. And it's a bit like the summary of all of this. Now let's go back where we were. An important thing to remember ourselves is that when we understand something, we connect with something. If that thing is something that is good for us, that does well to us, then that connection should be cultivated. Otherwise, after a while, it vanishes. After a while, our attention ends up somewhere else. There is something at the beginning says, "Wow, how beautiful," and then that enthusiasm, bit by bit, just becomes like a faraway memory. Our attention is taken by something else, and so on. And so, for this advice, this seventh encounter starts by saying, avoid the 10 unwholesome actions. So let's try to avoid a physical, verbal, mental conduct that is harmful for ourselves and the others. Why should it be avoided? Because for instance, sometimes we feel like maybe like lying. Sometimes we feel like killing, isn't it? I don't know, when there is like the mosquito, for instance. There were those in Tibet that in some villages they found this justification that to kill a mosquito doesn't create negative karma because it doesn't have blood or whatever. One finds all possible justifications. It's a being that is there, and let's also remember that mosquitoes that bite are the female ones that need to reproduce. The male mosquitoes go, they feed on the plants. So let's try to just push them away. But when one is sleeping, it's trying to sleep, and you hear this noise, may we feel like killing? Yes. So that's why we need a commitment to abandon the 10 unwholesome actions. Because the thing that is interesting is that, okay, but anyway, the mosquito has a short life. The problem here is not whether the mosquito has a short life or a long life, whether the mosquito dies or not. It's the fact that I lack respect towards the life of another being. It's a strong manifestation of my own obsession to self-gratification. One thing is like, okay, here is different. I go to a place where, for instance, there is dengue or malaria. Then it becomes a fact of protecting oneself from mosquito bites, and then it becomes like, okay, to protect one's own life by all means. And here the dynamic changes. Another thing is like, you annoy me, and so I kill you. That's much worse. But it's a dynamic where if I justify that I go against you and eliminate you, I kill you because you annoy me, the more I go on with that, the more that can grow, because then from the mosquito it becomes like the neighbor, and then it's not necessarily that I kill, but it generates that feeling of wanting to go against. That feeling of wanting to oppose ourselves, to push away, to go against, to eliminate. And then what happens? The more we go on in a growing feeling of this kind, the more eventually we don't have control then on our own actions. But if we manage from the smallest things to give a right direction, that helps us then everywhere else. So I try to avoid killing because I respect life of anyone or anything. I repeat, then if I'm in a place and there is malaria, then I need to protect my life, then I try to do everything possible to avoid being bitten by mosquitoes and to try to create distance and so on. Possibly trying to avoid killing, but the main point here is to not get into that reactive mind where I go against. Stealing, As a principle, one may say, I don't steal. And then, when there are opportunities of taking some profit that is not due to us, or an opportunity that is a bit particular and so on, is there the possibility that we may feel like it? Yes, right? And it's here that we need the commitment. I shouldn't steal. Lying. No, I don't lie. Okay, the opportunity comes. It's convenient to lie. It's difficult to say the truth. Do we feel like lying? And that's why we need a commitment. I will not lie. The same thing is about sexual conduct. The same thing is about violent speech and so on. And so, when it says abandon the 10 unwholesome actions, is about an inner act of recognizing that some things are harmful and to generate a commitment to avoid them. This is this part, and we saw this yesterday. And let your faith be forever strong. This is the other side of the coin. Because one of the main, how can we say, one of the main actions, the main way to start our spiritual path is to take a profound general commitment to avoid what is harmful and to cultivate what is good, wholesome. This is love towards oneself. This is one of the most important parts, and it's difficult because it's not always obvious that what is good for us sometimes is not always good, is not always pleasant, and the other way around. But if we take this sincere commitment where I recognize that it's harmful in my physical conduct, in my verbal and mental conduct, then I try to avoid it, and what is good for me on a physical, verbal and mental level, I try to cultivate it. This is a very important step. And so here the first part, to avoid the 10 unwholesome actions and let your faith be forever strong. This last part means that we should remember often the importance, the benefit, the value of what is good for us. The importance of truth, the importance of the value of life and the respect towards everyone, the importance of gratitude, the importance of mental stability, the importance of satisfaction, the importance of a coherent physical conduct, the importance of speech that speaks the truth. The more we're able to give importance to something and we remember about the thing, then somehow we are able to recognize it and praise it, the more that it will be also easy to follow it. And so let your faith be forever strong. It's not like faith in general as a feeling that is abstract. Faith is very specific here and is about believing in the existence, in the functions and in characteristics of something. I can have faith in the meditative state. I can have faith in gratitude, faith in respect, faith in humility, faith in peace. If I have faith in gratitude, then I tell myself that it's possible to feel gratitude, and that gratitude is a feeling that generates harmony, that generates satisfaction, that is good for ourselves, that is good for others. Okay, then I start to see all the whys and hows. It's important to feel gratitude, and then at that point, the more I see this, the more I cultivate also faith in gratitude. Cultivate faith in respect, in love, in the patience, stability, generosity, and so on.
Quindi quando viene detto rafforza,
so when it's said, let your faith be forever strong, Atisha remembers us that once that we believe into something, that's not enough. We need to repeat it, so that we can maintain the direction. Because otherwise there is the possibility that I believe into something and then after a while it vanishes.
Okay. Vinci l'ira e l'arroganza.
Overcome all anger and conceit and adopt an attitude of humility. here there is an interesting point that when we talk about anger, me by looking like this, probably, okay, there are also other types, but I recognize without reflecting too long on it, 3 types of anger, of aggressiveness. One that comes, that is that when there is the will to harm the other. So when I see in the other an object of suffering, or a cause of suffering of my own, so an object of anger, you make me suffer, you have a wrong conduct, and I see in you a cause of my suffering, then I want to push you away, I want to eliminate you. And so there is a feeling that we touched yesterday, that is the feeling of wishing the harm of the other, so wanting the other to suffer. And so there is a certain type of aggressiveness and anger that then manifests itself as hatred, where we have the will for the other to suffer. So it's an action that aims at that. Then there is another type of anger, which actually is a manifestation of arrogance.
Ed è strana
And it's quite strange, because in this type of anger, which is very present, the following happens. Like, I love you, but how do you dare behaving in this way?
Quindi io vado a
And
generare
so I generate a certain aversion and aggressiveness because you're not what you should be, because you don't do what you should do, because you don't understand what you should understand. And I am who knows what you should do, what you should say, what you should be. I remember once that I saw a scene that was like a photography of this, like very well made. There were 3 people that were happy and content, eating some bread. They were there, they were eating their bread, they were very happy. There was like some bread, like, I don't know, in India it's called the bamrodi. Roti. It's that white bread that seems like as light as cotton. I don't know what's inside that, but that's very light bread with a lot of sugar, very soft, white, that it's not like super healthy, but can we imagine it a bit? Okay. Then there were these people eating this bread very happily. Another person passes by and sees them and starts scolding them with aggressiveness. Ah, what are you doing? Ah, this is bad for you. You shouldn't eat this bread. Ah, you're so ignorant. With aggressiveness. And so, if you and then if you tell something to this person, then he will say, "Ah, no, but I love them. That's why I'm saying this." But then eventually, those people, did they receive benefit, or first of all, they continued eating their bread? Then, secondly, they were, they were feeling also some aversion. They were left badly by that. But that was an example that sometimes one acts with aggressiveness towards the other, not because he wants the other to suffer, but because he wants to eliminate, so to speak, a way of being, a way of acting, a characteristic that according to himself, it shouldn't be like that. I don't know if this is clear. And this is also one of the forms of aggressiveness that is very, very present. It's not so bad and ugly as hatred, but anyway, it's not fine. The third type of aggressiveness and anger, that is the minor one, is where the person actually, this is not an act of arrogance, this is not caused by hatred, but one is simply tired. It could happen that a person is very tired. It could be that she's nervous and that she comes from an inner tension, from a sensitivity that is also due to some tiredness, and then reacts badly. Not because she's mad with the other or because she feels superior, but because it's as if like you touch me slightly and I feel it burning, and then I react. I had an experience of this recently, a few weeks ago, that quite, made me reflect a lot, because I'm a person that by nature is patient. It's not my defect, anger, or to react in an aggressive way, to be nervous. That's not my weak point. There are others. And there were some days where I was very nervous, really a bit also joking. The people close to me, and I told them, okay, how is it, Lama? I'm nervous. What's happening? I don't know, but I'm nervous. Then in the middle of this, like around the third day that I was waking up and I was nervous the whole day, it was very strange, this thing for me. Then I talked with the doctor, with Minu that was following me, because I was having a very strong allergic reaction in the arm for the bites of some insects. And she said, look, what you have is a very high level of histamine. I took antihistaminic and then I calmed down. And she said, look, that when histamine increases, then one becomes more tense, more nervous. And so what happens is that sometimes there is a certain type of nervousness, aggressiveness, that could be the result of also a physical state of tension that is created by tiredness. There are those that become nervous when they are hungry, or when they don't sleep well, or because like the hormones are upside down. My parents, when they met each other, I was just born in those years. My mom, after a while that she met my father, she learned that to always carry with her dry fruit when they went out, because then when the time of lunch was approaching, then she was starting to see my dad getting nervous, then she would put something in his mouth. Okay, eat. Then with years he also changed, but it's a matter where there is also this aspect. And so these are different approaches that are necessary for each one of these cases. But if a person has already an aggressive attitude and then it's more sensitive because, for example, cortisol is high, or histamine, stamina, then one gets more nervous and reacts more aggressively. So, for example, in my case, as I was not used to reacting with aggressiveness, then I was able to observe myself and to see, okay, I'm nervous. Why? I don't know. But then I also took some safety distance. So what happens is that according to the type of nervousness, of anger that arises in ourselves, we should have a different approach. First of all, there is a fundamental thing, that is remembering that we are made out of habits, and also our conduct from the point of view like emotional conduct, verbal conduct, and so on, are habits. The way we react, anger itself, envy, and so on, these are all habits that we cultivate during our lifetime. So the more I get angry, the more angry I will get. And here, to face this, there are some steps that help us. Because Atisha says one thing: overcome anger. Between this overcome and anger, there is a word opening, because the question that, like someone that always get angry could say, yes, Lama, thank you, but what do I do? How can I overcome anger?
Tibetan è un po' diverso.
Tibetan is a bit different.
Si vince o sì.
Yes, win or overcome anger and arrogance. The word arrogance in Tibetan is very beautiful. It's called Nagyal. Nga means me.
Gyal vuol dire
Gyal, king. So, me, king. That is arrogance. Gyal also means victory. I am the victorious one. I am superior. I am the best. I am the king. And so this is arrogance. This is putting oneself with superiority in front of the other. But okay, we need to divide these two things. One thing is to overcome anger, and the other thing is arrogance, which comes together with being humble. Without getting into 1,000 details here, because we could go very long, then advertising break. In the book Dove vai così di fretta, there are these steps about all of this, so like it's all there if you want to.
Noi siamo fatti di abitudini.
So we are made out of habits. When a habit is very strong inside of ourselves, then it's not possible to stop it right away. And here we take what in the mind training teachings are called the 3 levels of difficulty. The first one is to generate awareness, observing oneself and recognizing when anger is arising and is manifested. When we are able to do this step, then we can see anger, but then we're not able to stop it. I believe that this has already happened to everyone. To see a negative habit, anger, jealousy, whatever negative habit or feeling that we have, that we see it, we see that it's arising, that it's manifested, and then we tell ourselves, what are you doing as we are doing it? This is the first level. And sometimes some people told me also, Lama was much better when I didn't know, when I didn't see it, because at least I would get angry and I felt in right to do it. Now I see that I'm getting angry, I'm not able to stop it. Then I'm disappointed with myself because I got angry. And I also feel impotent, helpless. But if we are able to see anger and not be able to stop it, that's a good sign, because it means that you are doing the first step. Because I cannot direct something that I don't see. I cannot change a habit about which I'm not aware. So the first thing is to see a behavior, to see a habit, and to recognize that it's not good. The second level, further step, I see that anger is arising, because the more I'm able to observe and to be aware of anger, the more I am able to be observed of when it's starting. At the beginning, I realize when it has already taken shape. Then after a while I'm able to realize when it's at the beginning, when it's starting to get manifested. And when I realize that it's starting to be manifested, then at that point I'm able to get to the second level, which is that where I see anger that is arising. I tell to myself, this will pass, and I will not let myself to be dragged away by this feeling. This is just a habit that I don't want anymore. So what happens is that we imagine like a sort of wave that comes, and we let it pass without being dragged away by it. Inside of this second step, there are also 3 other levels. The first one is I don't let myself to be dragged on a physical level. So anger comes, but I don't manifest on a physical level anger. I don't interact through anger. I don't do things, I don't take decisions, do physical things based on anger. The second one is that I don't manifest, I don't materialize anger, not even on a verbal level. I want to kill you, but I shut up.
Non ci vedo di sorridere, ma
I don't even need to smile, but I just don't manifest in my body anger. I don't do something against you. I don't say anything, but I'm also not just pressing down anger and pretending that it's not there. I see that there is anger, I welcome that habit as a habit, and I remember myself that it will pass, but I don't let myself to be dragged by it. So the first level, I don't let myself to be dragged away physically, the second one verbally, and the third one mentally. So I don't get into an inner dialogue with that feeling, because the classical dialogue is that I know that I shouldn't get angry, but look what happened, it's a tremendous thing. If it didn't tell me that thing, then I wouldn't be this angry. But see, like, I'm also right. This thing is really not fine, because here and there, and we get into a dialogue with anger. And it reminds me, when I think about this, it reminds me that painting that there is at the entrance of the temple, at the end of the wall, there is the painting of Buddha standing with the tree around. That painting once was at the Kumpen Lama in Milan, and our friend Duccio, the painter, as he was doing it, there was a friend of ours that already passed away, Teresa Torricchio, and she was a friend for many years, also of the center, an important person on many aspects, but also a very particular person on many aspects. Who has met her definitely remembers. And among the various characteristics of Teresa, other than being a kleptomaniac and opening loop discourses and not sleeping at night and wandering around the center, she also had beautiful qualities. She was also a person that was very correct on many aspects, artistic, connected with Dharma. Also, when we are doing the self-feeling, the mantra of Lama Ganchen, the singing version, it was she who adapted this melody to this mantra. For those that are some years older than me, maybe you can remember when the TV started in Italy and there was some break and there was some harp playing. She was playing the harp there. So anyway, she was a particular character in many aspects, but there was this aspect also that when she started talking about something, she would just go in a loop. So Duccio, he was there, he was painting, he just wanted to focus, of course, and so Teresa comes and she starts, Duccio, and at a certain point, yes, Teresa, and then, okay, he ended up the whole day there. Then at a certain point, he asked himself, how can I deal with it? And he tried the following technique. So, Duccio, and then he ignored her, like he was just pretending that she was not there. He said it was a bit difficult, but it was the way that he tried. So she would go there as he was painting, she will call him Duccio, and he was ignoring him, like one time, two times, three times. Then at a certain point she was coming, she wouldn't say anything and she stopped talking. Okay, one day passes, 2 days. Then at a certain point Teresa comes, gets closer to Duccio and says, Duccio, sorry, I understand that you didn't answer to me these days, not because you're unfriendly, but because you want to focus, because you're painting, and so you need to focus, and it's not the moment to just chat with me. And so I understand that it's not because you're unfriendly, so I am not mad at you. And Duccio said, yes, Teresa, thank you for your understanding. Ah, so you know that thing. And then he was... And our mind plays this kind of games. So if we started to open a dialogue with that anger that arises, and with that, at the beginning it seems that it manifests itself like, yes, you're right, and then it starts like to give some room to one thing and the other, and then it becomes like one huge thing. And so the first level is to not materialize physically that feeling. Let's remember a thing before that I welcome anger, I feel anger, I see that, I don't block it, and I don't follow it. But it's important to not block it and to not follow it. It's not that I pretend that it's not there, it's not that I tell to myself, anger, you shouldn't be there, and that's, if I try to do that, that's much worse. So I see anger, I recognize that it's there, I am angry, I welcome that feeling that arises, but I don't follow it. First verbally, first physically, then verbally, then mentally. When I'm able to do this, then I am at the second level. The third step, the third level is when I see that there is that negative emotion with awareness, I'm able to not block it and to not follow it, and to give continuity to this. Because in the second step, I see anger, I don't block it, I don't follow it, and then as I stop doing that, then I am taken away by that. So when I'm able to not block it, to not follow that emotion until it passes completely, then it means that I go to the third level. Is the path clear? Because if we start, for instance, okay, to say to ourselves, no, I shouldn't get angry, it's bad to get angry, and we put some energy of opposition towards ourselves, then it doesn't work. We can repress it for a while, that feeling maybe, and we repress a feeling, it's a bit like closing like a pressure pot. Sooner or later, usually either it explodes or implodes. So to repress, that's not the case. That feeling needs to be seen, needs to be welcomed without the feeling of guilt, but yes, by recognizing that it's a habit. It's something that comes from the past, like something that is manifested from a wound of the past, and I don't need to manifest it in the present. And like this, every time that a habit is manifested and we are able to not materialize that habit, when it passes, then it becomes weaker rather than in respect with when it arrived. But every time that a feeling arises and we materialize it, we follow it, when it ends, then it becomes stronger than when it arrived. And so in this case, to win, to overcome anger, one of the things that we do is to develop awareness, and for this there is a whole path also of analytical meditation, of the understanding of the why is anger harmful, to see all the defects of anger. For instance, it is said that anger and the feeling of aggressiveness has the capacity of destroying the positive karmic force that was generated in a tremendous way. But if we think from a simpler point of view, a friendship, it could happen that sometimes to build a relationship of trust with a person, many years pass. And in one moment of hatred, one moment of anger, the wrong words, the wrong actions can destroy years of work and trust. And even when the other says, yes, I'm sorry, actually I really didn't want to say that, but I was angry, and I said it, and then you say, yes, okay, never mind. Then inside, is there like a little knot, something? Then that sums to something else, to something else again. And sometimes it's just enough, one moment of hatred, one moment of anger that took many years to build.
Questo è veramente, poi quando uno si è arrabbiato fortemente diventa come se fosse ubriaco, perde il controllo.
And then when we get angry strongly, then we really lose the control on ourselves. We end up doing something that we usually wouldn't do, and also we will say things that usually we wouldn't say, like a sort of being drunk from anger. So if I killed, then it was still me who killed. Like if I lied, or if I talked with aggressiveness and I said bad things, I still did that, even if I was taken by anger, and I have the responsibility of those actions. And so, it's one of the heaviest things that we can do to ourselves, to really be dragged away by anger in a heavy way. But anyway, if someone wants to go deeper on this subject, there is the book Dove vai così di fretta, and aside from that, there is also the 6th chapter of the Bodhisattva Chairavatara. This text called Lifestyle Guideline of a Bodhisattva. Not very simple text, but very beautiful, and then there is also a commentary written by Geshe Kyapa Gyatso. And anyway, it's a very special text, and the 6th chapter talks about this, about all the reasons for which one shouldn't get angry. So there is a place where we gradually, conceptually get to the conclusion that whatever happens, it's not a valid reason to get angry. Are there situations where it demands, where a determined, like decisive action is required? Yes, but not with anger, not with hatred, not with the intention of harming, not with the aggressiveness.
Ok? E qua però apriamo tutta un'altra cosa che non è il momento.
But here it's an other subject, now it's not the moment. So, overcome all anger, the first three steps: awareness, don't block, don't follow, and then to give continuity until it also passes. What do I do when there is an object of anger that is too strong and I'm not able to get angry in front of that situation? I understood I should have awareness and all that, but here really I cannot do it. In these cases I should take distance.
Perché io so che quella reazione
I know that that reaction is not fine, but I recognize my own weakness, I recognize my limits. I see that in this moment I'm not able to not be aggressive in front of that situation, and I don't want to be aggressive. I don't want to react in a certain way, but still I don't have the strength to not do it. And so, in these cases, the best thing is, where it's possible, to create some distance, external distance, internal distance from that situation, that object.
Per dire, se non devo
For
mangiare
example, if I shouldn't eat chocolate, I'm not able to not eat chocolate when I'm in front of it because I like it too much. What do? Then I don't go to buy chocolate. I know that there is that street that passes in front of the chocolate shop, then I take another road, even if it's a bit longer. Why? Because I respect my weaknesses.
questo è anche un atto di profonda
This is also an act of profound wisdom, to recognize our weakness and to not be dragged away by that. It's like when Gaglakpala says that I don't want a third pair of socks. It's not because those socks, he didn't like those socks, but because he knew well that if he needed two
se si permetteva avere
and he allowed himself to have three, then eventually he would have needed 10 pairs. And so, as a rule for himself, he said, okay, I need to live well. He was a very balanced, joyous person. I live with what I need. Another master, Geshe of mine, Geshe Thupten Rinchen, when there were the teachings of the Dalai Lama in India, there were so many people,
aveva questo aspetto
and he had this aspect that even if he never accepted to take any important position in the monastery, and they tried many times to make him become an abbot, and never wanted, once they put his name in the list of possible candidates for being abbot, and he always said that he would have never accepted, when they put his name there, then he ran away from the monastery. Literally in the morning they brought him breakfast and he was not there. No one knew where he was. He left a letter and that said, I am not coming back until you take my name off the list. And he was one of the most important masters, and so they took his name away from the list, and so he came back. And because he didn't have any formal position in the formal hierarchy of the monastery, then he was not formally important, even if he was the master of many, one of the most important masters. And so, when there were the moments of the teachings, the way that everyone was sitting down was following a hierarchy. Monasteries are quite similar to the military, with a different goal, but there is a lot of discipline, a lot of rules. So that's what I always say, is that it's a good place for who feels like staying there. Like I spent beautiful years there. But even when you do a puja or listen to some teachings, there is an order of sitting. It's not that you can just sit wherever you want. Everyone knows his place. So when I sit, I know who are those that arrived before me and those that arrived after me. And so I should be careful that if I'm sitting and someone that arrived before me at the monastery comes, then I move away and I let him pass. But when there are 10,000 people, anyway, this works. And the closest one to the throne of Dalai Lama, there were sitting like the abbots, those with a position of importance and so on, the most important lamas, and then bit by bit all the others also will come. And he would have had to sit not very close, but also not like very far. But the Dalai Lama reserved a place just for him next to him because he cared a lot about him. Also, many times I've seen him when there were many people. He would call him and make him pass. He cared a lot about him. And where was he sitting? Outside. Together after all the monks, also like the children, there were the laymen outside. He was choosing like a place in the shadows, close to the speakers where he could hear well, far away. And once I asked him, Gelapa, why do you do that? And he said, maybe if you go inside, there is also a place close by, and maybe also next to the Dalai Lama, you can listen to the teachings better. Also, when the tea is served, because like also there were 2 or 3 moments during the teachings where the tea was served. So imagine how is the tea served to 8 or 10,000 people when it gets to the ones that are behind. The tea is cold. So if you are in front, then you're among the first ones receiving the tea, you drink it out and it's beautiful and so on. And he just replied the following: the higher you are, the more it hurts when you fall. And then he said, why do I go to the teachings? Because I want to receive teachings. I go there for the Dharma, for observing myself, to grow spiritually. If I am there in front, then I know myself. Part of my mind will start, but see, I shouldn't have been sitting here, someone is looking at me, you see that person is looking at me like that other person is looking at me, but look how important I am, the Dalai Lama called me and asked me to sit here. And then he said, okay, a part of my mind starts to go around to the attachment to the image, to the judgment of the other and all of that. And by knowing my weakness, I just remain outside. And it's not that he remained outside to show that he was humble, not even that. He told to me because I asked him, and I had a very close relationship with him. So he explained to me, and he gave me a great teaching. I understand that there is a weakness because there is attachment to image, there is the way that how I'm thinking about the others judging me or not judging me, what do they think, and the mind is not there at the teaching. So to avoid that, then I just sit somewhere else. And so to recognize what are weaknesses and to be able to respect them, that's also something important. So if I see that in some situations I'm really not able to not get angry, on the first level I create some distance from the situation, not with the attitude of being a victim and wanting to run away. No, I know that it's a habit, a conditioning that I have, that I'm not able to not react in that way, and so I take distance without acting as a victim. When, on the other hand, I am able to, bit by bit, to see that I'm having some small experiences, when I'm able to stay more present in the situation, I try to take the second step, that is where I see the emotion arising and I don't block it and I don't follow it.
Questo riguarda la gelosia.
This is about jealousy, this is about envy, this is about fears, this is about arrogance, this is about anger, hatred, about many feelings that we have. And so it's a matter of being in a state of constant training.
Quando riguarda invece la parte dell'arroganza,
When it's about the part of arrogance and being humble, here there is an understanding that according to me is wrong, that where humility is lived as putting oneself in a place of inferiority.
esistono anche certe
There
testi
are
che lo
also
descrivono
some
dicendo
texts that describe it as
ricordati che sti esseri
remember
più
of being
inferiore
the
si trova
most
sotto
inferior
tutti gli
ones,
altri,
the one that is
eccetera.
below all the
Però
others and so on, but
l'umiltà, in
humility
quanto antidoto
as an
all'arroganza,
antidote to
non è
arrogance
sentirsi
is not
inferiore,
to feel inferior,
è il non aver bisogno di paragonarsi con gli
but
altri
not
per
need to
vedere se
compare
stesso.
to the others in order to see oneself.
Perché chi si sente
Because
superiore a uno si
who
sente
feels superior
inevitabilmente
to one, then
inferiore ad un altro.
inevitably will feel inferior to another.
Quante volte che non abbiamo visto
And
quella
how many
persona che
times
si sente
have we
molto
seen that
inferiore
person
quando
that
ha
feels very
l'opportunità di
inferior
schiacciare qualcuno?
when, and then maybe like as a chance to step on someone else, then she will do it, because who feels inferior to someone, then will also try to feel superior to others. But where is this sense of superiority coming from? From comparing oneself to the others. So I'm better than you because I am more beautiful, because I am more young, more strong, more intelligent, more spiritual, more humble. Also that exists. I remember a passage of Benigni when he explained the Divine Comedy. There is a passage where he says that humility is the most difficult of qualities to be developed, because you just need to think of being humble to not be humble anymore. And so it's possible that one feels superior than someone else because he's humble, or feeling superior because I'm more good, or this and that. And so arrogance starts from a place where I compare myself to the other and I put myself in a position of superiority. On the other hand, sometimes it can also be for stupid things. Like for instance, my skin is of a certain color, I was born in a certain context, I come from a certain town or a country. These are all forms of arrogance which are based on fantasies, according to me. But anyway, arrogance for me is an enormous sign of weakness. Because in arrogance it means that I can't stay with myself. I am not enough for myself. I need to compare myself to the other. I am not enough, and so I need to see the other, I need to step on the other to then raise myself. Humility, on the other hand, is not to feel inferior, but not having the need to compare ourselves to the other, and to be able to recognize the other and the qualities of the other, the defects, whatever he is, and also me with what I am. And here there is a tremendous work of gradually not being there comparing ourselves to the others, and we do it in many contexts.
I
am not what the other thinks of me.
Adesso non voglio aprire.
Now, I don't want to open this subject. I do another advertising break. The book that will come out now, which is the last book that I wrote, in that there is a chapter that talks about this. It is called Who Am I? So to see oneself. And when we ask ourselves, what am I? Then, okay, I am many things. I'm sensations, thoughts, I am body, I am a flow of many things. But if there is one thing that we are not, is what the others think or say of us. It would be very convenient if it were just what the others think. We put all of that together, we use the system of algorithms of social media, then we sit with all those that love us, all think that we are a Buddha, and we become a Buddha. Everyone thinks that I'm patient, then I become patient. Everyone says that, look, you're so patient, you're so patient, you're so patient, and then you become actually patient. But that It doesn't happen. It doesn't work like
Quello
that.
che l'altro dice o
What
quello
the
che l'altro
others
pensa di
say
me
or think of
non
me
determina
doesn't
chi sono,
determine
non
what I
fare
am,
né una
doesn't
cosa
make
piuttosto
me
che
one
un'altra.
thing or another.
E la cosa strana è che
And the
per
strange thing
quanto
is
che
that
noi
for as much
ripetiamo
as
questa cosa,
we repeat this thing,
facciamo fatica a
we
non farla.
have a hard time to not follow it.
Per dire, se
For
qualcuno parla
instance,
male di
like if
noi,
someone
da
talks
qualche
badly
parte ci
about
fa male
us,
o no?
does it harm us somewhere?
Sì? Ci tocca?
Does it touch us?
Se qualcuno parla bene?
Someone is talking in a nice way. Ah, how beautiful,
O no?
isn't it?
Poi uno fa finta di
And
niente.
one pretends that it's nothing, but we like it. Moves something.
E qua ci vogliono
And
allenamenti
here we need some training, a constant training,
di usare le
of
parole
using
dell'altro
the words
come
of
uno
the other
specchio
as
per
a
vedere se
mirror to
stessi,
see ourselves,
ma non come
but
qualcosa
not
che determina
as
chi
something that determines what I am.
A me mi è capitato
To
più
me,
volte
it has happened
di trovarmi in
many
una
times to find myself in a
situazione
situation where there was some
di vedere
criticism
che nella
and to
prima
see that
reazione
the first
spontanea che
spontaneous
quello è di
reaction that
mettersi sulla
happens
difensiva,
is to put
di
ourselves
dire
on the
no, io
defense,
non
to say,
sono,
ah
ma
no,
perché?
I'm not like that, why?
E la cosa bellissima è quando uno
And the most
riesce a
beautiful thing is
uscire dalla
when we are
difensiva,
able to get out of the defense,
accoglie
to
quello che avviene
welcome
nella
what is
critica
coming
e
from the
fammi vedere
criticism
cosa
and to
posso imparare da questo.
try to say, okay, let me see what I can
E
learn from this.
effettivamente c'è questa parte
Actually,
che
yes,
devo
there
migliorare.
is
Poi
this
l'altra
part and I
cosa
need
che
to improve.
dice
That other thing
non
that
la
she
riconosco,
says,
non mi
no, I don't
corrisponde.
recognize that.
Quindi
That
bene, sono
doesn't
contento che mi rinforzo ancora di più
correspond.
perché
So
io riconosco.
I'm happy that I can also learn from that.
Qualcuno può dire,
Someone
guarda,
could
stai
say,
mentendo.
ah, you're lying.
Io guardo me stesso
And
e
look at
dico,
myself and
io
say,
nel
no,
mio mondo non
actually,
sto
I'm
mentendo,
not
quindi
lying.
bello,
So,
riconosco,
good.
vedo che
I
effettivamente
recognize that actually I'm not lying, so that
però
reinforces
riconosco che
me.
il mio
But I
modo di
recognize that my
comunicare
way of
ha
communicating
portato
brought
qualcuno a
someone to
pensare
think
qualcos'altro.
something else.
Quindi devo
So
migliorare
I
la
should
mia
improve
tecnica
my
di
technique of
comunicazione.
communication.
Poi che tu pensi che io sto
Then
mentendo,
whether
quello
you
è un tuo
think that I'm
problema.
lying or not, then it's your problem, not mine.
Nel senso che io non
In the
posso
sense that
rispondere,
I
posso
cannot
cercare
solve it,
di
I
spiegare
can try to explain and everything, then everyone thinks whatever he
Perciò
wants.
più
And
riusciamo
so,
gradualmente
the
a
more
uscire
gradually
da
we are
quel
able to
luogo
get
in cui noi
out
ci
of that
lasciamo
place where we
condizionare
let
da quello
ourselves to
che
be
gli altri
conditioned by
pensano,
what
da
the
quello
others
che gli
think,
altri
what the
dicono,
others say,
alla fine dei conti
the more
meno
eventually
stiamo.
we
Però
feel better.
ovviamente non è una cosa che si
But
fa da
of
un
course,
giorno
it's not something that
all'altro, né
we
da un
do
mese
from one
all'altro,
day
non
to
va
the
bene.
other, and also not from one month to the
È un
other, also not
processo
from 1 year to
graduale
the
che si
other. It's
comincia
a
con piccole cose,
gradual
uno
process
deve
where we start
ricordarsi
from
spesso
small
quello che gli
things, and
altri
we need to
pensano
often
di
remember
me non fa di me quello che sono.
ourselves that what the others
Quello
think
che
or
fa
say of
di
us
me quello
doesn't
che
make us
sono
that.
i miei pensieri,
What
le mie scelte,
makes
le
me,
mie azioni,
then
il mio
it's my
corpo,
choices, my
il mio
actions, my
fisico.
body, my physical
Io sono un
state,
flusso di tutto
my
questo,
thoughts. I am a
di
flow
mie
of all
azioni.
of this.
Tutto questo insieme
All of
determina
this
chi sono,
together determines what I am,
ma sicuramente non quello
but
che gli altri pensano.
definitely not what the others think.
Quindi qua c'è un
So
lavoro
here there is a
veramente difficile,
really
costante,
difficult and
necessario,
constant
che è quello
and
di
necessary work that is that
cambiare
of
questa
changing
dinamica in cui
this
siamo lì
dynamic
dipendenti
where
da
we
quello
are
che gli altri
dependent on
pensano.
what the others think.
Ed è strano, io non
And
riesco
it's
a capire
strange, and I
veramente la
really
logica dietro
cannot
questa
understand
cosa.
so much the logic behind that,
Io so
even
che
if
quello
there
che sto
is
facendo va
maybe a
bene, ma
logic.
qualcuno pensa diversamente.
I know that I'm doing well, and then someone comes and thinks differently, then who cares, by all
Perché
means?
non cambia niente,
Because it doesn't
speriamo che io
change
non ho
anything, and
potere sulla
also
mente
me, I
dell'altro.
don't have power on the mind of the other.
Questa capacità di
This
fregarsi
capacity
nel
of
buon senso è una cosa
not caring in a good sense, then it's a wonderful thing.
Io devo essere molto
Because
attento
then I need to be very careful to how my actions influence and interact with the others. That definitely yes. But what the others think or not of me, that doesn't change who I am.
Okay? Credo che sia molto
I
chiaro
think this
questo,
is
no?
very clear, right? It's not easy, but it's important. So
Vince l'ira e
overcome
l'arroganza
all
e sii
anger
umile.
and conceit and adopt an attitude of humility.
Evita mezzi, un'ultima cosa, questo aspetto
One last
della
thing, this
paragonarsi
aspect
se
of
stessi con gli
comparing
altri,
oneself to the others,
come conseguenza
as a
andiamo a
consequence,
superare tre
we
attitudini,
overcome 3 attitudes.
che è
That is
l'invidia verso chi ha di più,
envy towards those that have more, the competitiveness towards those that are equal, and the arrogance towards those that have less. Ah, you're less beautiful than me. So arrogance. You're more beautiful than me, then envy. You're as beautiful as me, then I should be more beautiful. Competitiveness. And then we never relax in that.
Si manifesta in tanti.
This manifests itself in many different contexts. You meditate better than me.
Ricevi più
You
attenzione.
receive more attention from the Lama. You do here, you do there. In whatever context, the mind plays its games. So when we don't need to compare ourselves anymore to the other, with the other, but we're able to see ourselves for what is inside of ourselves, for our actions, our conducts, and so on, we get out of this need of having to compete, having to have envy and arrogance, because these are three manifestations of the same. So, to not compare oneself to the other, to see oneself, brings us to overcome these three attitudes: arrogance, competitiveness, and envy.
Lokpe tsowa pancha shin chogi tsowe tsowarcha. Evita mezzi scorretti di sostentamento.
Renounce unethical forms of livelihood and sustain yourself according to the Dharma. In a few words, here we don't need to get too long in this. We need to live in the sense that as a center also, we don't have the possibility of getting at the end of the month and call Enel or whoever that is, and to say that we pay the electricity bill with prayers. We send you a lot of blessings. They could answer us, thank you for the prayers, but if you don't pay, then you will be with no light. We need to eat, and so on. And so we naturally need to have some means of sustainment. And each one of us, in his own life, according to the reality where we live in, the conditions that we have, we need to find a way to survive materially. And doing this, there are some choices that should be avoided. These are the means of sustainment that generate in an indirect way a negative interdependence that generates particular suffering. So you should avoid to produce and sell things that harm on a direct level. For example, look, I make a lot of money by producing poison, but I don't give it to anyone. Who buys poison then goes to poison someone else. But it's not that I poisoned anyone. But did I use your poison? Yes, but I didn't poison anyone. I produce weapons, but I never killed anyone. They are responsible for their actions. How they use the weapons is their choice, but I just make something that by itself is used for killing. And so these are two examples. So if I, for example, produce drugs or weapons, or if I do some things that pollute a lot, there are so many things. Where on one level, like on an indirect level, they generate some negative interdependence and suffering. It's also about the abuse of people. And so here there is also another rule of where in order to produce something, it depends directly on the abuse on someone. Like when there is someone in a strong condition of suffering, so that I can have my own profit, and for having that profit, then I need to maintain the state of suffering of the other. To make extreme examples, it could happen, for example, in some cases of prostitution. There are some women that are forced into some situations. But we can give also many other less serious examples. But of course, in the world that we live in, it would be difficult for a person to lead a job where that will not have any possible kind of negative interdependence anywhere. That's very difficult. Because,
che ne so io, compro le
I don't know,
verdure,
like I buy biological vegetables, and they come in a plastic bag. And then where does plastic end? Just to name one thing. Okay, since I'm taking my car, since I'm using my car, do I participate in pollution? Yes. And I can go on with thousands other things. I put my money in the bank account. And as money is in the bank account, is it just sitting there or does it move? The bank, does it use them in some way? Yes. They're being used by the bank. Could it happen that instead of that, that money is used partly to support some activities that, according to me, shouldn't be supported? Yes. So, for example, once that I went to talk at the bank for another matter, I told them I don't want the money that is in the bank that is used for some kind of activities. And there they come out with all these very nice things, because we make sure that it will not be used for weapons and so on. And I said, what about intensive farming? Ah, no, this we cannot grant it, for instance.
E quindi è complesso.
And so it's complex. I could choose, okay, I keep my money as cash and I put it in the bank. That also doesn't work. So what we are talking about here is that we cannot get into a total paranoia, not doing anything. But on the other hand, we can have the greatest awareness as possible and to try to live in a coherent way where I am careful that my actions, my choices, my interaction on a material level is as much coherent as possible with the world where I would like to live in, especially on a direct level. So the difference is the following. One thing is whether I have money in the bank without me being aware that money is used indirectly to make some investments. Another thing is I choose what investments I do. Okay, that investment. Weapons for children is very profitable.
È molto diverso, una cosa dall'altra.
One thing is very different from the other. So
Quando parliamo dei nostri mezzi,
when we talk about our means of sustainment, it means the job that we do, where we put our energy in order to have our money to be able to live materially. To try to do a job, to lead a life that is not necessarily also something like super positive, super beautiful. Maybe, okay, I just work at the bar and I'm selling a sandwich. Okay, that's great. I work at the bank, that's also fine. I do many things, there are many possibilities. Me, I've always said and I still believe that it's a great luxury to be able to do a job where I earn well and I like it and it's also meaningful. It's really hard. That's a luxury that few have. Then it's not said that because a job is meaningful, then it remains as a meaningful job. For example, to be a doctor, is it a meaningful job? But if I am a doctor and then at a certain point my priority is my profit and I don't care about the well-being of the patient, does it remain a meaningful job? No. And so what happens, that doesn't mean that the doctor shouldn't earn. Yes, he can earn, but he should maintain an importance for the well-being that the person that he has in front. So if I had to choose between the profit and the well-being of the patient, then what should I choose? The well-being of the patient. So here when it says sustain yourself according to the Dharma, means that you should try to sustain yourself in an economical way, in a way that it's coherent with the principles of your spiritual path. The two things should be coherent with each other and not separate, different. It's not that on one hand I'm there praying that may all beings have happiness and its causes, may all beings be free from suffering and its causes. I want, but this is my spiritual part. Then the job is something else. No.
Noi dobbiamo cercare
We
di
should try to
seguire una stessa
follow
coerenza a 360 gradi.
the same coherence, 360 degrees in the job, in the family, in every context.
E non sempre facile,
And it's not always
possibile,
possible, not always easy,
però dobbiamo avere una direzione chiara in cui
but we should have a clear direction towards which we are working.
perciò non,
And so,
non è il punto qua
the
non
point
è
here
avere
is
un lavoro
not to have a meaningful job,
significativo,
but it's to
evitare
avoid
mezzi di sostentamento
means of
che vanno
sustainment that
direttamente,
directly,
principalmente, poi
mostly,
anche
but then
indirettamente,
also
possiamo
indirectly,
evitare,
possibly
ma
it's better
almeno
to avoid it, but also
evitare lavori che
to
vanno
avoid directly that
a generare sofferenza agli altri.
they generate suffering to the others and to the environment.
Per dire, faccio un
For
qualcosa
instance, I do
che
something
va a inquinare tanto,
that pollutes a lot,
però mi fa guadagnare
but it makes me earn very well.
non va bene.
Then it's not fine.
E poi c'è un altro aspetto
And
che
then
viene
there is
insieme
another
con questo
aspect
che è
that comes
importante
together with it,
vedere.
which is important, that
Al di
is,
là del lavoro che
aside
faccio,
from
devo cercare di
the
fare
job
un
that I
lavoro
do,
che
I
non
should
vada a
try to do a
generare.
job that doesn't generate.
Quando si dice questo termine
When we use this term
tibetano,
in
si dice
Tibetan,
lokpetsoa.
it's called Lokpetsoa,
Quando rientra per
means
esempio per un centro di Dharma,
when it's about a Dharma
ci sono
center, for
caratteristiche
instance,
specifiche.
there
Un
are
centro
some
di
specific
Dharma, quali sono i mezzi
characteristics. What
corretti di
are the
sostentamento di un centro di Dharma?
means of sustainment that are not correct for a center of Dharma? To sell Dharma,
Utilizzare il Dharma
to use
come uno
Dharma
strumento
as
di
a
manipolazione
tool
per ottenere
of manipulation to
guadagno
obtain material gain.
materiale. Dire, guarda, se fai la donazione
Ah,
per
look, if you do the donation for that, you will earn a lot of merits, you will have a good rebirth.
Guarda che se non
Look
offri
that if you don't
una manica,
offer
una ruota di preghiera,
a money
nascerai
with a
all'inferno.
like a will of prayer, then you will be reborn in
Piuttosto
hell.
che vuoi avere
Or maybe you want to
un'attenzione, piuttosto che
have
si possono
attention,
trovare
or
mille
you can
modi.
find
Adesso stiamo
thousands of
facendo
ways now
una
on making
manipolazione molto grossolana.
very gross manipulations,
Ci
but
sono tanti
there are
modi
also
molto
many
più sottili di
more subtle
manipolazione
ways of manipulation that are possible.
Quindi qua ci sono
And so
cinque
here
modalità
there are 5
di
modes
cui uno dovrebbe
where
stare attento,
of which we should be careful, that we should try to avoid,
che riguardano proprio
that
la
are really about
manipolazione in
the
cui il Dharma
manipulation
viene
where
utilizzato
Dharma is
per
used
ottenere
in
un
order to
guadagno.
obtain material gain.
Faccio un esempio
Make one example
per fare esempio come le cose possono succedere, no?
of how things can happen. Like we have the shop here at the center.
Io una delle cose che
Me, one of the
voluto
things that I
è che
wanted
gli oggetti
is
che
that
mettiamo
the
nel
shop,
negozio
the
siano
items that we put in
oggetti
the
che
shop are
possano,
objects
non
that
tutti, ma tanti,
not all, but
sostenere la
many
pratica,
can
essere
that
di
can
supporto
sustain
anche, quindi anche un
support the
servizio
practice,
che
so that can be
non ha bisogno
at
della
service
voce della
of the
statua
practice.
piuttosto che-
So one is
Per
a
esempio,
statue, this and
gli
that,
oggetti devono
and for
essere
example, the
anche
objects should also
consagrati,
be
benedeti, eccetera.
blessed and so on.
Quindi le statue
So the statues,
modo di possibilmente
we make it
di
so
riempirle,
possibly
non sempre si
to
riesce, ma
feel them.
sempre
We're not
possibile
always
di
able
farlo.
to do
Una
that.
cosa
One
è che
thing
si dica,
is
io
that we
voglio
say,
che gli oggetti che
I
le
want
persone
the
possono
objects
avere
that
siano
people
oggetti che siano
can
coerenti
have
con la
are objects that
tradizione,
are coherent with
che
the
abbiano la
tradition,
parte
that have
materiale, ma anche la
the
parte
material
di benedizione
part, but also the part
energetica,
of
che siano
energetical
ma-
blessings,
oggetti che siano completi in
objects
quello che
that are
dovrebbero
complete
essere. Un'altra
in what they
cosa
should
è
be.
che io comincio
Another
a fare
thing is that me as a center, I
guarda,
start to
facciamo
say,
benedire gli
ah,
oggetti perché così
okay,
vendono.
let's bless the objects so that they can
faccio
sell
quello,
more. If I
entro
do that,
in
then
questo
I
mezzo
get
di
into
sostentamento
this
corretto.
incorrect mean
È chiara la
of
differenza?
sustainment.
Ok.
Is the difference clear?
Quando rientra nella vita di
When
qualcuno che
It's
diciamo,
about
la
when it's in the
propria
life of
materia prima
someone
non è
where,
Dharma,
like, let's say that the first,
un centro di Dharma, a questo
the main business is not the Dharma, so to speak. Then it's delicate because in some cases we use the justification, because if then the profit also goes for the Dharma itself, then you can also use it to manipulate. No, then I don't agree. And I've already seen this type of justification, but I absolutely don't agree.
Quando la materia prima non è
When
Dharma, che è la vita
the
di noi, quello che succede è devo evitare azioni che
When the first aim is not the Dharma, which is the majority of our cases, then I should try to avoid uh, actions that end up harming either others or the environment. And then it doesn't matter whether I do a job that is very meaningful and coherent with the Dharma, or a job that it is like also quite trivial, simple. I don't know, like maybe like I've always thought about those that work at in the highways, tolls.
quando si dice qua provvedi a te stesso secondo
When it says here, sustain yourself according to the Dharma, means also to do my job in a way that is coherent with my spiritual path. So to use the moments of as I'm working as an opportunity to practice patience, to practice constancy, coherence, gratitude, love. And so I apply in my conduct, in the field of my work, of my daily life, the principles and the values in which I believe.
questo è un altro
And
aspetto.
this is another very important aspect. So the job does remain as something that is separate from our spiritual path. The job is a part, is a manifestation, is another tool of transformation in our own path. So it's not that then I shouldn't work. No, but in the field as I'm working, I'm training myself in patience, in presence, in awareness, in respect, in gratitude. Going back to the example of the highway toll, imagine any person that passes, I take your money and I give you the ticket and I tell you, may you be happy. What a beautiful job.
È possibile.
It's possible to do that. Then it depends how everyone does it. And this is the other point. What do I do and how I do it? These are the two things that need to be seen together.
Facciamo le nostre dediche.
Now let's make our dedications.
Jetsun lame kutse rapten chin nam karatrin le chokchur gepa dang lo san tempe dreme sasum gi drove munsel takto ne gyur chi kewa kunto yanda lama dang dralme cheki pela long che chin sada lamge yenten rabzo ne dorje changi kopa nyur toba sho nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan delek shin yinsen dakto delek pe koncho sumke chingi loba koncho sumke ngodrubu tsol koncho sumke trashi shon all'alba
At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all the realizations and to sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness.
Buon appetito a tutti. E oggi ci vediamo
Today we will meet at 3 in the woods.